Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Helping the Brave. Let's bring our guest today. It's Josh Brinson, but he likes to be called Joe Bronson.
That's right. Anything will work. I'll answer anything.
That's why you have guardian strength to people. I'm like, what? Guardian? Guardian? Stroth?
Yeah, exactly.
We were
That
making
same
fun of
thing.
how people can't seem to pronounce our names even when you tell them how to. And he's got an easy one, Josh. I just don't understand how hard that. I mean, I've been to like places in Mexico and I've been at a Starbucks and they're like, "What's your name?" And I said, "Ed." And they go, "Huh?" And then I go, "Eduardo." "Oh, Ed." Yeah,
You got to find the connection and
yeah.
read the
All right,
room.
all right, Josh. The only question I ask on each one is, what service and why did you pick that service?
U.S. Navy. Um, they happened to be in the office at the time. I should have taken a hint from the Air Force guys that were never in the office. I should have went that route, but uh, I was a aircraft, or excuse me, helicopter aircrew rescue swimmer. And then every other job you could do on a helicopter. So when I went through A school, they said, or I asked the question. I went through A school, aviation structural mechanic, egress, and I asked the question of, hey, what am I going to do on a helicopter? And they were like, what are you doing on a helicopter? And I said, well, I'm a rescue swimmer. And they're like, oh, you'll learn a new job. Just pass the school and move on. And sure enough, I just got tossed into every shop in the squadron and learned how to do a little bit of everything, which is cool.
Well, I mean,
And
I didn't even know that was a job, the helicopter swimmer.
yeah, well, I didn't
I
either.
mean,
I actually,
I was in the Navy for 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days, but who was counting? But
yeah,
I was stationed at Camp Pendleton, so I didn't deal with helicopter people. I didn't even deal with the regular Navy at all. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I
Well, and everybody assumes, Navy, you're on the ship all the time. And that's what I say. I'm like, I don't know what the regular Navy
right, right.
is like.
I don't even know how to salute what when you walk up to the ship and all that. I don't even.
Yeah,
I did it
yeah,
one time to see my girlfriend on a ship. She was a journalism, and that was it. That was the only time I was on a ship.
yeah. Well, and joining it, I told the guy, I said, I just want to be a SEAL because that was the only thing I knew that could do cool stuff, jump out of airplanes and he said, okay, cool. Try this rescue swimmer thing. I said, okay. Because and I'm thankful for it. I'm not going to say I couldn't have made it through the SEAL pipeline, especially knowing what I know now. I was just too dumb to quit, and that's
Right.
half the battle right there.
Yeah.
But he knew at the time I was jumping out of airplanes even in high school, and so he was like, "Well, try this out, and at least that way you get a rate and another job, and then if you decide you want to switch it up later." And for something happens and you don't make it, then you're not going to the fleet undesignated, as we say.
Yeah, boatsman mate,
And
you definitely don't want that.
yeah, they always threw that at us going through school is you want to be chalking and chaining aircraft the rest of your life? You
Uh,
know?
yeah, it's like the when I was going as a corpsman, they're like, you could go to a boatsman mate, and then you get to pick it. You get your chance to do every
Oh yeah.
job on the ship. I'm like, no way in hell, I'm not that dumb. Um,
It's
so
like when they say the same thing about infantry, like, oh, you want to just do anything? You can do infantry.
yeah,
And that's what they were pitching to my son. He's looking at Army, Air Force right now. And, that's the first thing everybody talks about is infantry.
right. Well, my son's in the army, and he was a combat medic, and then airborne, and then he's
Okay.
just gave up the airborne part, and then he's getting stationed in high desert this year in
Uh,
California. Yeah,
I,
he was Alaska, his first duty station, which the problem was the first year was the pandemic, so they forgot about most of them in the barracks. There were so many people committing suicide because they were left in
my
barracks and forgot
God.
about. They just got out of jump school, the whole 9 yards. They come into their first duty station. Now go sit in your room. It was just horrible for all those people up
Yeah.
there. And then he got stationed in Washington State, and now he's going to High Desert, right outside Barstow, right outside of 29 Stumps. But
Nice.
yeah, so for him, when he was joining, we went to the Air Force first, but they wouldn't guarantee his job. He went to the Army, they
Right.
guaranteed his job. He's like, should I go to the Navy? And I go, no, because you will not be like me. You will not be able to not be on a ship. That's just not
Right.
going to happen.
Yeah.
I got lucky because I don't know if you heard my story, but when I got in, Then I went to Camp Pendleton for my first duty station. And instead of going up to the ward, they were like, anybody know computers? And I'm like, I do. And they sent me down to medical mobilization and planning. And I was in there for 18 months doing readiness teams and all. I had a great time. I did all this, disaster drills and all that stuff. It was amazing. And then they were like, okay, it's your time to you're either going to a ship or to specialty school. And my first statement was, what specialty school is not on a ship? And they were like, physical therapy. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do. And that's what I did. And it was great. It was perfect. Yeah. With that attitude, it was exactly what I really wanted to do. And I just didn't know it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's how they scared him away was he scored really well on his ASVAB, and they immediately started pushing the nuke program, which I told him, I said, they're probably going to do that.
Right.
And I said, if that's what you want to do, hey, that's on you. But aircraft carrier, submarine, those are your two choices. And he's like, yeah, that doesn't sound great.
And then get out and make a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, there's
that's
that,
the one. Those new
like,
people, they make so much money when they get out of all the people because they, everybody want them. Yeah, especially now with them trying to create smaller nuclear reactors for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, but it sucks. You're stuck on like you said, a submarine or a ship.
Yeah, the whole time, and that's just not the way he wanted to go. So,
yeah, unless you try to get stuck on a ship that's in dry dock for 3 years.
Yeah, I don't think you want that either.
Well, I was just lucky not being. I always tell people I have no idea what the regular Navy is, because at Camp Pendleton it wasn't. When I was in physical therapy, it was like MASH. It was a totally different. The officers didn't care what we did and whatever, as long as we did our job. When you have the regular military, it was like checking you for everything, and they didn't care as long as, because I pushed my hair was the longest, and I had it at the time. I don't have it anymore on top, but I pushed the limits on how long my hair could be, because I was in Southern California, and it was a great time down there. And I'd constantly be stopped, and my department head said, if they have a problem with your hair, tell them to call me. And I'm like, okay, thank you, sir.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That was the second time, not the first time. First time before I went to physical therapy school, it was a little different. It was all, because it's readiness. So it was like old school senior chief smoking in his office. Get in here. Because I remember when the lieutenant called me and said, get in. I need your help. And I'm like, I'll be right there. And he's like, don't you ever say that to her again. You get right up and get right in there. So.
Yeah, very old school.
Yeah, how it was originally, Yeah, all right, so you were in the Navy, you're a swimmer. So how was that? I mean, what was it like? Where were you stationed?
Well, all the training initially was Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
So spent probably a little over a year down there, because part of the way through training, I had injured my knee right before summer school. So they threw me in like a medical hold, which was absolutely terrible.
Yes, it is.
And then once I got out of that, they sent me to A school, finished that, came back to summer school. So all in all, that took me almost a year in Pensacola. And then from there, finished it up in San Diego. I was about 6 months out there and stationed in Norfolk, Virginia.
Where you originally joined at?
South Georgia.
Okay. I mean, I thought so. Kind of a little accent there.
Yeah, it comes up.
Not major accent, but amazing. Go from Pensacola humidity to San Diego, no humidity, and the 70-degree temperature and everything else. That's the one thing I miss. I'm in Northern California now, Modesto. Our average temperature during the summer could be anywhere from 95 to 110, depending. 22 days out of that time. But we have no humidity, so that's
right.
The cause. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like being in Saudi, when I was out there. But yeah, I remember getting off the plane in Pensacola, and the humidity just hit you like a ton of bricks. And I was like, okay, I'm home. And then my buddies that were from like Idaho, northern Idaho, was like, what is this? And why is everything sticky? Like, this is terrible.
That's how it was when I was at San Antonio for my for the additional school for physical therapy. We were there 3 months, and of course it was summer.
Yeah,
we were there for the 3 months, and it was humid and 80 and not and then the humidity. You're like, this is but you got through it. You lived with it.
Sure. Yeah.
I never want to live with it again. So
I'm okay with it. I'm just not I'm an inside cat when it gets cold, but I'll take humidity. I'll take the dry heat any way I can get it.
Yes, I love the cold. So because I can wear more clothes.
That's how my wife is.
Yeah, heat. I can only wear so much, right? And I can
Yeah.
only take off so much, and
Yeah.
legally not get in trouble.
True.
All right. So you were in. How long were you in the service?
I did 5 years, and then I did a little time afterwards in the reserves.
Like,
But
you a total of six, like two and four and two, or how? Because you have
uh,
inactive reserves, right? How long were you, or did you do full reserves?
I went in full reserve straight out the gate, and then so I don't recall exactly how long I was doing that. Probably about a year, maybe, and then it just wasn't for me. So I went inactive for the duration of however long that lasted.
So your transition, when did you know you were going to be done at 5 years and you're just out of here? Or is that was your plan, or it came for some unknown reason?
No, I mean, joining up, everything sounded awesome. I was like, yeah, 20 years. How hard can it be? And I just hit a point, at the time my thought process was I was tired of being deployed and being gone. And, I had just gotten married, and the last year that I was in, we got married, and I started obviously thinking about the future. And so I got married, and 2 weeks later I was gone again. And so I was like, well, do I want to live like this, or get out and do something different? And so that's what I don't know. There was a reason other than that, just getting frustrated with different things. Like I was having a hard time advancing in a rate that I didn't work in ever since A school. And then, of course, soon as I transitioned, they changed everyone to AW if you were a crewman. And so I made E5 as soon as I got into the reserves on without even studying for a test. And that was part of the frustration, and just little stuff like that when you're 22 years old. You know how it is.
Yeah, I had the same problem as a corpsman. You had to wait till people got out,
Mhm.
and nobody was getting out. And so, I mean, I was stuck at E4 forever. I passed
Yeah.
the test 2 year and 2 years still I can't get to E5, and my son's already an E5, and it's like
Mhm.
a little over 4 years
Yeah.
in the Army. It's amazing how fast they make rank and move on. But all right, so I didn't get into your deployments. How many times were you deployed?
I did a lot of smaller deployments. So my first deployment was right after I'd gotten to the squadron, and I went over to the Mediterranean on a USNS ship, which for those of you that don't know, it's like half civilian, half military kind of thing. And we supplied all the big carriers and all the ships that were in your area, and which was amazing. I mean, we were like I said, floating around the Mediterranean for 6 months, going from port to port. We'd go out. Service line, whatever ships, because it was right during, when the war kicked off. So we're throwing bombs on one ship and milk on another one. And then we're going back into Spain or Italy or somewhere cool and resupplying, coming back out. So it was a great time. And then some of the other shorter stints were on some gators. We're up all the way up to Canada, to Bermuda, down into the Caribbean, just you get told you're going to do one mission, and then you either don't do that or you do something different. My last one was land based in Bahrain when we took over from another squadron. So we flew out and were in Bahrain for 6 months. From there, we deployed to Pakistan when they had a big earthquake in, I think it was 2005, and spent some. I think we were up there. It felt like forever, but I don't know, maybe almost. It was a few weeks or a month. I don't know. It seemed like forever, but and then
Hot.
no, it was actually we went there in end of October, November timeframe.
Oh,
So it was warm enough during the day, but it got kind of cool at night. So the weather wasn't terrible. Just it was unplanned. So you get up there and there was zero living condition. We stayed on the Pakistani Air Force base, and so they threw us in a hangar somewhere, and we happened to have a few cots. And I mean, there was no uh, bathrooms, there was no porta johns, there was no shower or anything. Like for the first week, we were just kind of roughing it. And then, of course, like people from all over the world were sending people in for relief. And so after about a week, there were shower trailers and, food services and all sorts of stuff. So
For everybody else, you just got lucky to use them.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, we did get lucky. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I mean that's how it always is. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, we don't need. We'll get it to you eventually, and everything
yeah,
else. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
and then finally somebody else needs it. Oh yes, you can use it. All right.
Mhm.
So when you got out, did you? Because I know I've read all the stuff on you, but I don't want to just
Sure.
jump into it. So
No,
how
yeah,
did
fine.
you decide to do what you were going to do next? Because a lot of us lose our purpose when we get out, and we first get out, and we don't know what to do. Did you know exactly what to do when you got out?
Absolutely not. I had really no plan other than I'm going back home and working with my dad, which is what I grew up doing. And my wife had already actually moved down there while I was on my deployment because at that time we already kind of knew that I was getting out. And so moved down there, started working with my dad. Also, I was also an EMT in the military. So I just was like, all right, well, I'll get a job at the fire department. And that way we have benefits and all that stuff. And so I did that for a couple of years.
So Josh, were you like a corpsman on the helicopter?
No,
Because I went to EMT. So I actually went to EMT school when I was in also at Camp Pendleton, and we pulled duty as ambulance people,
right.
and like paramedics all over Camp Pendleton. I got pulled to the highway. I saw some I don't want to say amazing shit because it was some bad stuff. But,
Amazing to us.
yeah, at the time. Still, I see it now, and and that was one of my podcasts I did with some ranger. He's like, "Dude, you have PTSD." I go, "No, I don't." And he goes, "Yes, you do. You have vivid memories of all these different things, and that is PTSD." I was like, "Well, okay." I just thought I had a good memory. Yeah,
sure.
And yeah. So and then so I ended up working at the school, and I learned and I trained everybody. I did all that kind of stuff, and they hated me in physical therapy because I was gone. My whatever HM1, whatever he was first class, and he was pissed because like, you're down at that school instead of here. I'm like, well, they need me, and I'd rather do that anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I did it just to have some extra training. Like our job was to get them out of the water or wherever we were, land or whatever. Our job was to just get them from point A to point B. We had like first responder type medical training, and I really enjoyed the medical side of it. So they hooked me up with sending me to EMT school 1 year, and I really enjoyed it. But now, from what I understand, they actually have people that are dedicated to being more of like a flight medic type thing as a completely separate entity, in that same group. So I just learned that when we were at the recruiting office the other day.
Well, it's like my son in the Army. He wanted to be on one of those things, but he couldn't be because he's colorblind.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, the wrong color. He sees just like he got marksmanship in the shooting in a range, right? And then they go out on the field, and then he can't hit anything in it was all over him. You got marksmanship, you can't. He goes, I can't see it. It's all the same color. Yeah. It's gray.
It's camouflage down there.
And it's like, that's why it's like, okay, you can't have a gun really because you can't really protect something, in the wrong place. But anyway,
yeah. No, I get it, but no, I had no plan getting out. I say that my plan was just go work with my dad and see what happens.
What did your dad do?
He had at the time, which he still does now, he had just started doing rain gutters. And I mean, he's always done everything. He's one of those dads, he can build, weld, you name it, he can do it. So he had that business going pretty good. And so I got out and started doing that with him, and then working at the fire department, and eventually switched over to EMS after a year or so of that. And so that lasted about I think we did that for about 3 years in South Georgia. And then I got some calls from some buddies from the military to move up to North Carolina to Blackwater and be a helicopter mechanic up there. And so that's where we transitioned to there. And so as far as any kind of plan goes, like I'm a huge planner, but what I'm going to do with my life, I still have no idea.
All right. So is that where you're right now?
No. So now I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. So there's a lot of gaps between there and here. And I can go through those real quick and stop me wherever you want to.
Well, no, it's just a question of how did you finally get to what, because you do, well, first of all, competitive barbecuer.
So yeah, that was my dad and I when he built this monster smoker, and other people were using it for different events and stuff. And I was actually flying back from Dallas to doing some training for the reserves, and was like, "Hey, there's this competition barbecue thing. Let's go do that." And he had a big sign made for his business, and he said, "Well," I said, "Well, we'll go get some advertisement out of the deal, do some barbecue. How hard can it be?" I mean, we'd done some backyard stuff, but that was about as far as our competition barbecue skills had ever gone. And so on the flight back from Dallas, I just made this recipe up. I mean, I've always enjoyed cooking, so I threw some stuff together on the recipe. We ended up winning that competition and then moving on to like another competition and then the regionals, and we won pretty much every one that we did. And that or not bought us, but it got us a spot on the John Boy and Billy radio show. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
It was a huge, like, nationally syndicated show. They were out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and they were real big around the South, and all kind of all over the place. So they flew us up there. We're on the radio, talking about barbecue and all that kind of good stuff. And so we ended up just doing that with, they had a big competition team, so we cooked with them at local events, or it just kind of turned into, we did catering for people, you name it. We would do our own events at local fairs and stuff, and so it just turned into something we did as a passion.
Do you still do that at all?
Not so much. I ventured when I moved away from there. He and I quit doing it together, and I did a few on my own. And then I actually ended up starting a barbecue sauce business with the sauce that we had made and kind of tweaked over the years. I started that in, I think it was like 2018-ish, somewhere in there. But then COVID shut us down because we couldn't get like the ingredients we use. Everything was all natural. We were having problems getting ingredients. The containers we used were glass jars, and we couldn't get the jars that we wanted. So ultimately, it just continued to linger for so long. I just kind of shut it down. And here lately, I've been playing with the idea of starting it back up again, because I still have yet to find anything like we made on the market. I know most people say, well, barbecue sauce all kind of tastes the same, but
no, they don't. Some is sweeter, some is different. Yeah, all different. Yeah.
Most of the commercial stuff these days it's all just sweet,
Yeah.
I feel like. And unless it's like a vastly different, like you get into the mustard based sauces or the white barbecue sauces, and it is different, but most of your standard sauce is just sweet garbage, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do a lot of just, I only, I don't claim the fame, but my wife says I do very good meat. And that's just, if I'm going to cook something, I'm going to cook it really well and do different things. And I, and again, I don't like the sauces on. I'd much rather make my own, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I cheat. I cheat. I use Chat GPT. So like the other day, I had to go to the store for some stuff because my wife decided we got our dogs on Farmer's Dog.
Yeah,
that stuff's expensive, and so you can order the ingredients and make it yourself. And it'll save you about $2,200 a year or something if you do that. We have two dogs, two American. They're pretty much American bullies, and so she did that. I had to go get some stuff, and I was at Smart and Final. I was like in the meat department. I always look because I look for stuff that's a couple days, and I go, it's so much cheaper.
Oh,
yeah. So and I came across a flap steak. So I'm like, took a picture of it and asked ChatGPT, what can I turn this into? Baja tacos. And all right, make me and it made the whole marinade. I went and grabbed all this stuff, and it was pretty amazing. And the same thing I'm going to do with fish tonight. So
nice.
Yeah. So
I need to get on that.
Yeah, it's just an easy way to. So I think what somebody should do is, and this is what I was telling you what I was doing, and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I learned how to vibe code and create apps, and I've been doing that since August of last year, plus the mortgage company I own, plus this and other things. So it's, all has its moments. Like I have 2 days of spurts of being able to do my vibe coding, and then it's all work for other stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I get it. For
But one
sure.
of the things that's pretty cool is just the Claude and ChatGPT, just using it for helping you figure stuff out. Well, somebody just needs to have it there to, you take a picture of a piece of meat and you're like, how do I make this? And it tells you everything and everything you need to add, especially for us, most guys who have no clue how to cook anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Right. Yeah. What time for dinner? And and so I eat better now, and I need to make sure that I eat certain things. My wife doesn't. She cooks amazing, but not always it's what I like.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's super important. I've always, I guess, growing up and just being around, my grandparents that cooked everything, and I always took a liking to it, and so I always grew up enjoying cooking. I never was really very good at it until that whole barbecue thing, and then I really started taking it seriously, and it just grew from there. So it's always been an interest of mine.
Well, let me know if you get into the sauces.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know a lot of people, they don't do the glass; they just do the jugs.
Yeah, I did the glass because, number one, recyclable. Number two, I like the jar because you could get a spatula and actually get everything out of it instead of leaving like
Right.
residual all over the place. So there was a thought process behind it. And now I have a few leftovers, and so they're like my shaker bottles in the morning for pre-workout or whatever.
That sounds like that's exactly what my wife does. Yeah. Before she gets on the treadmill to run, she's she's a slow runner, but loves to do, not loves, but she did a marathon, a couple half marathons. We used to do triathlons when I was in San Diego. That's what I did when I was down there. And then I moved up here and got fat and everything else because of life and everything. Because it was different down there. Average temperature was 70
Sure.
degrees. I could go outside anytime and work out. Here, 94. I might not want to go out right now. Peak of the
Yeah.
yeah.
Or I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do this, But in the
Well,
wintertime, I'm like, oh, I got to go out there and that.
yeah, I love that. But now, I mean, so I do things differently. Now I do everything in the morning, and yeah, take the dogs for their walk before I go on to my long walk and everything else. So,
Yeah, there you go.
all right. So barbecue. So you're a pilot too now?
Yeah, I got my pilot's license in 2021. I was working for a friend of mine, and he had a construction business. So after COVID shut everything down, I started working for him, and he had his own plane and pilot's license, and kind of got that fire lit. So I started doing that, and really, I always tell everybody I worked my way backwards to the airplane because in high school I was skydiving, and then the military I rode in the back and did all the fun stuff in the back of the helo, and then spent probably about 10 years overseas as a contractor, aircraft mechanic. And then, and then now I'm flying in the front seat, and just recently started a program here locally at one of the universities to finish getting all of my commercial ratings and pursue that as some sort of career.
So are you planning to be a pilot, or are you just planning to pilot yourself around?
My plan was to pilot myself, but I'm always, like I said, when the opportunities come up, it is gonna, that's the direction I'll go if it's worth me heading that way. But I did it just for myself to be more trained, and if I wanted to, fly myself or my wife, kids and all that stuff around, just more training, the better.
Well, it's just faster to get to certain places.
Oh yeah, faster for sure.
Yeah. All right. So now, what else do you do now? Because you've done everything. So now,
so I started my own rain gutter business after the construction thing started dying down. I started my own rain gutter business because I was like, well, I know how to do that. Let me do that. And so I did that, got my general contracting license, residential, commercial, and I've been doing that for the last 3 years or so. And seeing where it goes, but also since this pilot thing's kind of new, kind of playing with where I want to go with it. I recently partnered with a roofing company, and we're kind of merging our companies together so that I don't have to do everything by myself. And we were doing a lot of their work anyhow as one of their subcontractors. So they're a good team. And they're all medics here in Nashville. And so we partnered together and seeing where we can take it.
well, and then you put a roof on, you got to put new gutters on. because they got to tear off the gutters and everything else.
Exactly.
They don't always go back on nicely, and they're usually
exactly.
old. They're usually older as the roof. So
100%. Yeah.
And so, are you still a medic? Do you still do that, or?
No, I quit doing that.
Well, you just said we're all medics, so I just was
Well, no, so they're all medics. And the three guys that own that company, all three of those guys are medics. So we just had some shared similar backgrounds and personalities, so it seemed like a good fit.
Yeah, a lot of firefighters, they have extra businesses on the side because they work 24 hours and then like, what are we going to do for a couple more days? So
exactly, yeah, that's what got me into it the first time. And if the pay would have been better, I probably would have stayed doing that for a while, but it just wasn't there. And aircraft mechanic paid better at the time.
Yeah, well, whatever works for you. All right, so then you're also the fitness coach, right, or something?
Yeah, so in between,
I assume because that guardian strength would mean something. So
yeah, so in between all that, I started coaching. Well, when I was traveling overseas, you talk about purpose and everything. When I got out of the military, like anyone else that goes back home, you fall right back into your same routine, same patterns and everything. And so I quit working out, quit having any kind of fitness or anything that I had in the military. Always, in the back of your mind, you think you're still a badass military dude, but I was just like everybody else, trucking along, trying to figure out life. And then when I went overseas as a contractor, you get back in around all those people and you're like, okay, like I need to step my game up a little bit. And so that was around 2012. I went to Afghanistan, contracting as an aircraft mechanic and starting it back into fitness. Like, okay, let me get back in some kind of shape. That was also around the same time CrossFit started getting kind of popular and trying to figure out what that thing was. And met some good coaches that were also they were in Florida where we lived at the time. And they were prior Marine Corps, good dudes, and just started my journey there. And then it just progressed to me being a coach here in Nashville when we moved up here at a CrossFit gym, which I didn't plan on doing. I was just doing it to be healthy and be around for my kids. That was the whole thing. My wife and I, a long time ago, said, I always want to be able to do anything my kids can do and be there for them no matter what. And so that was part of it, was just me staying in some kind of shape. And then when I'm working overseas, I'd, work on an airplane and then sit around and twiddle my thumbs for another 12 hours, or I could go work out. And so I started doing that, and it just progressed from there, taking online classes, coaching at the local place here and around Nashville, and started doing online training, and kind of got away from it for a little while whenever, again, after COVID hit and I started doing other jobs. Like you said, every life happened, transition happened, and I completely got away from what I had been doing for 10 years prior to that. And weird aches and pains started happening, and I started to feel what they say old is. And I'm like, this is not what I want to feel like every day. And so it lit another fire under me to get back into it and back to the path that I was on. And then again, that led to more people reaching out and, hey man, can you train me? And here we are. And so I said, I've always enjoyed this, and especially men are harder to coach, because we got it all figured out. We don't need anybody telling us what to do. And especially when you get around construction men and, some of these jobs, firefighters, construction, police, military, nobody asks for help for anything. They just tough it out and move on. But meanwhile, they've got more ailments than anybody you could think of, any other profession. And so that's kind of why I started coaching again, was how many of these guys can I help? Because they're not asking for it. So what can I show them that there's another way? And so that's kind of where I started getting back into coaching again.
No, I see at Guardian Strength _strength. Where's that at? Where's that?
That one's that's TikTok. I started doing that a few months ago, and that's where I put most of my. I heard you talking about an app or something that you were working on, and it really perked my interest because once I got on with TikTok, I wanted a place where I could just put one video up and it goes to all the different platforms. And now I can go to Instagram and then it takes it to Facebook and goes from there. But it's so cumbersome that's why I don't post. I'm a terrible influencer because I can't stand the process of posting. Um, if there was only an easier way.
There is an easier way. Yeah. One thing I've been working on is a podcast app that you drop your MP4 in there and it does the sound. It cuts up everything and it auto distributes.
Right.
And
that's I heard you talking about that on
85% there, but it's like I started that thing back last year, but then I couldn't get certain things done because AI hadn't got there yet, or there wasn't the other stuff, and now it's pretty much there. So I have like 6 different things I have to finish, and I also created VA Claim Bridge, which isn't fully going yet, which is for vets to be able to go get your own benefits without having to pay a claim company to do it.
Okay,
you just upload your stuff in there, and it'll tell you, how to do it and how to connect the secondaries and everything else, and move forward.
Yeah, that'd be a great tool.
It's already there. It's just the tools are there, but the actual app to do everything in it is not working 100%. It's actually online. I was just trying to get people to break it to see where the other problems are. But I know where some issues are, and I know, and there's nobody's put anything in it, and that's okay. That's because I don't want them to yet.
Gotcha.
But use the tools, and the tools, like you can upload your VA claim letter, and it will tell you what your actual VA number is. Like people think, oh, well, I'm 95, but you're really 91 or 90.1, and when you come back with another 5%, you're still 95.
Yeah, that'd be really
nice. I mean, you're really 90, right? You're 90, not 95, because you were 95, you'd be 100.
Right.
So yeah, it's so easy to get to 90, but it's really difficult to get from 90 to 100.
Right. Yeah.
And just because you need numbers, and people, you need to know what that is. Because if you're 89 or 87 or 86 and you round up to 90, is different than if you're like me. I'm rounded down.
Right.
I only needed one more at 50%, which they didn't. They denied my PTSD because they didn't see it was in my file, and I was diagnosed at the same time as they were doing my VA claim.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a tricky process. Like, as you start doing the math, I'm like, how do I have 314%, but I'm only at, like all of your claims add up. And then
I know, but it doesn't work that way. And people don't understand the math. They take the biggest one first, and then anything after that percentage times whatever your next one is.
Yeah.
So that's why if you're truly at 90, then you need a 50% times the 10% left over is your 5 to get you to 95 to get to 100. So yeah, it took me a while. The only way I figured it out is when I was creating the calculators. So
yeah, I went in and I don't even know how I did it because I'm so terrible at math in general, but I went in and kind of figured out the system after a little while. I couldn't repeat it right now if you put a gun to my head, but it's a tricky system.
Yeah, it's meant to be that way. And then they keep making it harder and harder. Because right now there's about, I think they said there was 6 million vets that have disabilities out of 18 million. I could be totally, that's right.
I've heard numbers similar to that,
Yeah, 2 million was done last year. I think that's what did the problem. And then there was a lot of issues that came up with this AI to find fraud in the DBQs and the Nexus letters, because a lot of people were using these mills to write the letters. And now they're going to see if those issues, and that's, just stuff like that. So what are you going to do? Well, I always feel you should be truthful anyway. And some of these people though are like, okay, when you bend over, say you can't bend more than this far down. And if you listen, there's a guy, Raider HQ,
I heard that one a few days ago. Yeah,
he's an ex-Raider, and he just retired. And he's like, dude, you have to be fused in order not to be able to move forward. And it's because we were told only move where the pain starts. Well, that's not true. You should be able to move through it unless there's an issue. You just, and a painful joint is a certain percentage anyway. Like your shoulder is 20% if you say, oh, it hurts all the way through the movement. You know, I mean, it's like,
well, and it depends on like too, the provider that you get that's asking you to do these things. Like some of them are very detailed and they'll tell you, here's what I'm looking for or whatever. And then others are like, bend over, you know, and like, how far do I go? And then
you need to ask questions. That's the thing. You need to ask the question. What are you looking for this? And that's like, I had a lady up there because I have both bad knees from the military, carrying patients and everything else. And she's like, move your thing and 3 times try it back to see how far back you can get. And she wanted me to reach back, lay down, reach back and grab my ankle. I go, I can't freaking do that.
Couldn't do that.
No way. Huh? Yeah, on a good day, because I can't get my knee back that far. But anyway,
well, so it depends on like I've gone and been denied for things, and went in there and was like, well, yeah, today I'm okay, but like I may not be okay for the next 3 weeks, you know. But when you asked me today how I am, and I answered it truthfully, not really understanding the process early on, you know, like it'll hurt you, and then you're left going, well, why did I get denied for this thing? You know,
you're supposed to going on your worst day. So whatever your worst day is, what you tell them.
Just because that was the best piece of advice I was ever given was, you know, that in particular. Especially, I know you mentioned sinusitis stuff before.
I have 50% for that.
Yeah, and I went in and I thought, okay, this is a shoe-in. I've already had 2 surgeries, and just recently I had my 3rd one, and went through all that, and they were like, cool, 0%. Thanks. Cool story. And I was like,
so I went in and they can see my stuff, but my biggest thing was the fact that I neti pot twice a day, period, to be able to breathe. And when I went in there, and I said that I even did this morning, and I can barely breathe. And they're like, okay. Yeah. And that's the thing, is you have to show them that kind of stuff. And the problem is, like, when you first get like your knee replacement, you're going to get 100% because you can't do anything, but then they drop you down to like 30 if that's all you have, because you got your knee replaced. Yeah, exactly, to a certain point. The scar on there is painful, so you can get 10% for that scar, but then the scar has to be painful all the time. That's the thing, which people do. No, it's fine. Okay, well, whatever. And it used to, I mean, there's just so many bad information out there. That's why I wanted to create that other thing. And I did create it, and it was amazing. And I just got sidetracked with a bunch of other stuff to finish it, because I'm learning all these new skills to make my stuff even better. And one of the guys that I know real well, he's the problem I'm having is figuring new things out and then having to go back and fix all the apps that I already created.
Yeah.
The first 2 apps I created, the first one was that's fully out there right now. It's called shortfuse.io, and it's I needed a short URL for something, and I didn't want to pay $29 for it, you know, monthly. So I created my own, but then I added a QR code that has it to where it changes. You print it one time, and the URL for that QR code can change. You can change it constantly. So, and you can have it changed by the hour. You can have it changed by location, geolocation, and everything else. And I created that because that's what I needed. It's out there. If somebody needs it, let me know. I'll give it to people from here, because I don't need to make money off of it. It's saving me $29 a month. I don't really care. It's just sitting out there, shortfuse.io. Reach out to me. The second one was I started building apps for people and really websites, but authority websites. And they want me to make sure that they're working and everything else. I'm trying to be cheap about it. So I said, okay, it's $99 a month. I'll make sure your blog is posted, that I auto create, and that it's up. Well, I'm like, I don't have enough time to make sure all this happens. So I created this thing called nightsignal.com, which is kind of like Uptime Robot and a bunch of these other ones who keep track of everything on your website, like your APIs and everything, and tells you if they're working, if there's a problem. It'll tell you if your website goes down, the whole 9 yards. And I created that, and that's like my best thing I've created, and it's perfect for what it does. So
I'll have to check into that.
And it's with a K, because Night Signal with just the N was $25,000. With the K in front of it was only $15. And it looks better anyway because it has a night on it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, and if you need it, let me know. because actually you can set up if it's just you as a user, you can set up multiple, like 3 different websites in there for free. So
Okay.
yeah,
Right on.
but it'll keep track of what people on it. There's these cron jobs that are like, if you need that's something that's auto supposed to do everything on your website. Like I have people's auto blogs. I mean, I've had them created with AI pictures, the whole 9 yards, and it auto does it and auto distributes it. And I have to make sure that happens. And sometimes it breaks. And it'll tell you that within there. It'll tell you, you can set up these different things to see if there's an issue with anything you're doing, and it'll let you know. And it tells you how fast your website is, like, and where it's at normal, that has been at. I'm like what I did is when I was building it, I told it to find all the other ones out there and make it better than them. And that's what it did.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, that's the same thing with the shortfuse.io. The short, I asked it to check Reddit for what people wanted in a QR code that's not out there, and that's what it came back and told me about, where you can change it, where you can print it one time and change it forever, and also be able to change it by time. Like if a restaurant had a QR code, and the same QR code, the morning it was breakfast, at noon it went to lunch, and then at dinner time it went to dinner.
Okay.
That's the difference. And then, like, for speakers, I'm like, I have one, but that will, if you say, hey, as soon as I leave here, this is going to change because it's geolocated. Yeah. And so I go to my next speaking, and it's now connected to where I want it to go at that place. So
I see. Yeah. No, that's, well, first of all, I did want to say too, the automations that you've got set up to just remind me to be here.
That's Go High Level. Which is really good and something you should look into because you can actually have that set up to auto distribute your content for you.
That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for because, like I said, I'm the worst influencer, or I don't even know what category. I hate even the term influencer, but my biggest problem is remembering to post something, or I'll post it here, but by the time it gets loaded there, I forgot that I needed to put it on the other page as well. And like I said, all the reminders that I got to be here today was fantastic. So
good.
Otherwise, I'm driving all over Nashville and I forget that I'm supposed to be on a podcast.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine, Ralph Carrasco, who's a vet also, he was in the Navy also. He's in my Rotary. He helped me set all that up before I knew about High Level, and I was trying to find somebody to set it all up at the time because I was too busy doing everything else. And he set it up. Since then, I know exactly how he does it and everything else because I've advanced more. But the way he set it up helped me out drastically for people to come on or remind themselves they have it so they can cancel that day instead of me showing up and they're not there.
All right.
So
exactly.
If they don't respond, I know they're not going to be coming. They must have put the stop on it at one point. And then I'm like, yeah, because I had one lady who was like, this is the most ridiculous stuff you have and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we need to cancel the podcast right now because if this is a problem for you, you and I are going to have a problem on the podcast. So thank you for your time and have a great time and cancel. And she was like, no. I'm like, we're canceled. Thank you. Have a good day. I'm a vet. Don't mess with me. I don't have to live for it, man. There's a reason I have systems. But if you need any help, Josh, on anything, let me know. That's what I'm for.
I appreciate it. No, that's great stuff.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today. Anything I should have asked you that I didn't?
I don't know what I don't know. So no, I'm good. I appreciate your opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for watching. If you like what we do here, subscribe. And the reason my helping the brave numbers are low on the YouTube channel, and I need everybody to start subscribing, is I moved it out from my personal brand into its own brand, and I never promoted it so much to everybody subscribe because it used to be under my other one, and people know about it. And my personal brand has, 25,000, not a ton, but has pretty good following. This one doesn't have as much, which my purpose isn't I don't care about followers. I just want people to enjoy it. And I get a lot of, on the shorts and everything else. But if you do enjoy this, please subscribe. And thanks, Josh, for being here today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate it, Ed.
All right. Don't go anywhere. Thank you again.